Today we have my pair of very old Sennheiser HD202s. The right hand phono doesn't work anymore, speaker doesn't work anymore, so we're going to see if we can find out what the issue is. I figured out that if I push this cable in a little bit, it goes on again. If I let go, it stops. So it's not with the 3.5mm headphone jack, that's the issue. It's with the speaker itself. So let's just quickly play, see if we can hear anything. Here's the left one. I don't know where this mic is for this phone, but that's the left one. That's right. Nothing. Okay. So the way we're going to open this up is if you look inside here. I took a look, and the best option will be to slide this headphone out to the top. Just make sure we're on the right hand side. So you slide it all the way to the top and then you just clip it off. Okay, we can put this to the side. Now we can open the earpiece up by unclipping, and then we come here, and then it looks like the next step will be to open these 4 screws on that side. So I'm going to do that. I'll show you on the inside. Okay, now that all 4 screws are loose, I just use the back side of my knife, which is the thinnest thing I have, just to lift this off slowly. Then we've got access to the back, and we can see that these solder joints still look fine to me. What they did was, and what people normally do, or what they usually do, is just make a knot in the cable, so you've got cable restraint when pulling on here, that you don't pull on the solder joints. So our best bet would be that something happened with the cable here on the knot. After years of using it, the cable finally broke there. So let's see if we can see how to take that out. It seems like there's a little plate in here that can slide out. Yep, it does come. There you go. Okay, it didn't go far, don't worry. And now I'm going to assume we're going to push this back in. And then we should be able to push this cable through, unless this is molded onto the cable. I hope that's not the case, and I hope it's a bit loose and I can actually pull this through. Let's see. Not entirely. I'm going to take a closer look off camera and I'll tell you what I see. Okay, basically this cable is quite tight in there. What I'm going to do anyways, I was going to cut the cable to get past the part that was broken, and then just resolder it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these with the soldering iron, loosen the solder, take out the cable, undo the knot, and then pull the cable out and see if I can push it back in once I've cut it. I have soldered wire like this before on smaller headphones, and it's very, very difficult to get them back on, so hopefully we'll get it done. But just going to put some soldering on my iron. I'm going to loosen the joint there. Let me just get something to hold there. Okay, just lift it off. There you go, it's loose. untie the knot. I'm going to try to pull this cable through further. Okay, it was no use. I tried to pull it out and the cable just broke. I assume they clamped these around the cable with some sort of hot tool to basically melt it onto the cable. So what I'm going to do now, first, this is an old piece of cable. I'm going to clean this one off with my slide cutter and my knife, and then solder it on there, and first see if that works before I go through too much trouble to get this restraint on this side working again. Okay, so I cleaned the cable, and normally to get rid of that fluff that's on the inside that keeps the strands from being loose, I just take a lighter and just burn them all off. Gonna be ones in the red one as well. Okay, and just twist them together. And the problem is each of these strands has got insulation on top of them, so it's very difficult to get soldering to stick to this, and it's very difficult to get that insulation off without breaking these strands. So I've tried various things in the past. I take my knife and just scratch off the points, or I've used excessive heat to try to burn off the insulation. I'll see what works this time. Okay, managed to get it soldered on. I used my knife to scratch off the insulation just on the little tip, and then I held the tip in the solder for quite a long time to get all the heat transfer there, and then some solder did stick to it. And then when you solder it onto these points on the speaker itself, just make sure to be quick, because everything here is plastic, so you don't want this to become hot enough to melt the plastic around it. But anyways, so this is where we are. It is working, the speaker. Okay, so what I was thinking for the cable restraint was some shrink tubing, and I've got 3 different sizes of it. So I'm going to put the smallest one on right here where the cable goes through. I'm going to put the smallest one on. I'm going to desolder this again, put a few of the heat shrink on, and then slide the smaller one across exactly where I want it to be, shrink it, put the larger one on, shrink it, put the larger one on, shrink it, until I've got okay enough grip here on the cable. I'm also going to tie it up as it was, just for that extra strength whenever somebody steps on the cable or something, so that it doesn't pull out on the solder. Yeah. Okay, this does not look as elegant as it used to, obviously, but I don't think it's too bad. It's quite tightly in there. Put that little restraint back on. I did put the soldering back on. So all that's left to do now is make sure that cable goes through there, and then put it back on. Now, okay, you can see there's a gap for the cable there, and a gap, so let's come this way around. It would be nice not to squash the cable anywhere, but that's it. That one's back on. Put the screws back in. And then we can put this one, clip this one back in. And then just push it in again from the top. There. As good as new. Thanks for watching.